Speaking of big movers today, this next company that is coming up had news this morning and saw their shares spike as much as 50%, 50, not 15, 50% this morning. Let's see if we can get them on right now. We got a lot to get to here. So the head of IR at Lexaria Bioscience, Jurcic, I see him here. There he is. George, welcome to the Benzinga Small Cap Conference.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the intro there. It's been a good day to the market so far, and we're looking forward to the continuation of the day.
It has been. So I understand you have some slides. So can you please share your slides or bring them up on the screen here?
Yes.
There we go. Can you go into present mode, please? There we go. Perfect. All right, sir. I mentioned the headline. You guys had news. I'm sure you'll cover it, but the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, hello. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who are new to Lexaria, welcome. Our disclaimer side, also available on our website. I'll start off this presentation by providing a short overview of the company, our technology, DEHYDRATECH, then dive into our R&D program, which has produced exciting results this year. Our intellectual property portfolio is very strong. We have 23 patents granted, and we have another 50 pending all over the world. We are patent granted in the United States, Australia, the European Union, Japan, India, Mexico, and China. On one particular note, we do have a patent granted in the EU and also in Australia that allows us to already under granted status to use DEHYDRATECH CBD to treat heart disease, which should be of great interest to yourselves and for us as we pursue CBD for hypertension with the FDA. We have a disruptive drug technology with multiple opportunities for success in cannabinoids, oral nicotine, antivirals, and other active pharmaceutical ingredients. We're showing great revenue growth, still under about $1 million a year, but with that said, roughly 99% profit margin on these royalties. We have ample scientific data evidencing our technology delivers higher quantities of APIs in less time for cannabidiol, oral nicotine for reduced risk, and antiviral drugs for COVID-19 and other infectious diseases. We uplisted to NASDAQ capital markets in January. Raised about $11 million US, and raised about another $4 million through our publicly traded warrants in July. All our operations are fully funded until Q2 2023, and we're pursuing an investigational new drug enabling program for DEHYDRATECH CBD as a prospective registered treatment for hypertension with the Food and Drug Administration, which I'll touch upon later in this presentation. The point here on this slide is to illustrate our technology has been tested in virtually every one of these sectors, valued at about $245 billion, which gives our shareholders various opportunities for success. I'll touch upon some of these later in the presentation, but the audience should be aware we have a versatile technology with multiple applications and paths for success. This slide shows you the progress of some of our leading programs. Some of you may already be familiar with these markets, but you can see our CBD for hypertension is well underway, with the goal of having an FDA meeting in 2022. The CBD for hypertension market is a $28 billion market all by itself. But get this, in the United States, and this data is freely available, 1 person in 4 who is diagnosed with hypertension is actually using drugs to treat it. So that means 3 out of 4 are not. Meaning that if this stat is valid, that $28 billion market could actually be a $100 billion market in waiting. That is a lot of unmet demand, and I will tell you why we think we could meet some of that demand later on in this presentation. Oral nicotine is gearing up for human studies. Antiviral therapies, NSAIDs, PDE5 inhibitors continue to evidence superior results. CBD for epilepsy is an interesting one and a very important one. I'll dive into this a little deeper in the coming slides. This slide here, this is a great slide. This is a PK curve, came out of our 2018 human clinical study. The black line, as you can see, is our DEHYDRATECH formulation. The dotted line is one without DEHYDRATECH. And the shaded light gray dotted line was one of our competitors in their own human study using a nanotechnology. They were delivering about 100 milligrams of CBD, and we delivered about 90 milligrams of CBD in our study. Slightly different, but comparable. Blood samples were taken every 30 minutes up to the 3-hour mark, and then basically roughly every hour on the hour until the end of the study. You can see for yourself that in the first 30 minutes and at the first blood draw, the nanotech is stuck at 0. It really hasn't started to work. And by the 1 hour mark, we delivered more CBD than the other formulations throughout the entire study. On the left-hand side, you can see 317% more CBD delivered, higher CBD delivery throughout the entire study, higher cerebral perfusion, and lower blood pressure shown versus baseline. Truly remarkable results. This is a nice simplified description of how we render DEHYDRATECH formulations and what those formulations can be and some of the benefits they allow. Just to put it in perspective, we named the technology DEHYDRATECH because we have patented the process in a composition by which we use a dehydration methodology to create an effective molecular association between an active pharmaceutical ingredient and delivery method. We utilize long-chain fatty acids, and this is the focus of our delivery technology. In step 1, you can see how we combine a given lipophilic fat-soluble active ingredient with a fatty acid like sunflower oil. We then subject that mixture to certain heat and processing steps and then combine it with a carrier particle such as gum arabic. The DEHYDRATECH formulations at least start as powders, and that powder is now mixed with the combined fatty acid and API mixture with or without a co-solvent if needed. It is then blended, further refined, and then subjected to a dehydration processing method, which rendered us a final powdered intermediate material in which the DEHYDRATECH is now part of. It is baked in, let's say, and what you have is this powder that can be utilized in an end product. We can take that end product powder and we can process it a little bit further. We can compress it into tablets, fill it into capsules, convert it into semi-solids like topical creams and lotions, or even as a liquid for liquid dosing. So how is the DEHYDRATECH believed to work? Well, on one side, you can see many of the areas and benefits of long-chain fatty acids, and all we're really doing is creating a figurative Trojan horse, if you will, to piggyback on that fatty acid. We know long-chain fatty acids block and shunt away from receptors in the oral cavity that detect bitterness, and as such, the bitter flavor profile, which is a signature of CBD extracts, and is almost eliminated with our tech. We know long-chain fatty acids in the stomach stimulate motility so as to move to the upper intestine, and in the small intestine is where you absorb the long-chain fatty acids. And in the small intestine, long-chain fatty acids uniquely channel towards the lymphatics and directly into the bloodstream instead of into the liver. And as such, you bypass the dreaded first-pass liver metabolism. We have evidence in our study work directly showing that we do bypass first-pass liver metabolism for faster and more complete entry into the blood. Once it's in the bloodstream and circulating up to the brain, for instance, we know long-chain fatty acids affect transport into brain tissue. And again, we seem to piggyback for more rapid and complete entry into the brain, which matters most for the active ingredients that we do work with. I'll quickly reinforce the main talking points from this slide. Our technology masks unwanted taste and eliminates the need for sugar-filled edibles. It improves the speed of onset. Effects are felt within minutes. It increases bioavailability, much more effective at delivering drugs into the bloodstream. It increases brain absorption. Our testing suggests up to 19 times improvement. Reduces drug administration costs with a higher ratio of drug delivery expected to lower the overall drug costs. I'll walk you through some of our key studies and findings for the DEHYDRATECH CBD. Please note, when you do see a study with A, that is an animal study, and if you do see an H, that denotes a human study. I'll keep it at a high level, but what I would like the audience to know is there are press release icons on our deck on the right margins, which link to the press releases if you'd like to read a little more detail. So to kick it off, in 2018, we had a skin absorption study as much as a 225% increase in CBD permeability when compared to the highest performing commercial penetration enhancing formulation, and almost 1900% increase in CBD permeability when compared to a control formulation that was devoid of DEHYDRATECH or any commercial penetration enhancers. Our human clinical trial using Lexaria's DEHYDRATECH, I touched upon this a little bit earlier, but again, we delivered 317% more CBD into the bloodstream. And in February 2019, a single 90 milligram dose of CBD provided evidence of DEHYDRATECH CBD, I should say, provided evidence of lower blood pressure, a higher blood flow to the brain, faster delivery of onset, larger quantities of CBD within the blood compared to a single 90 milligram dose of generic CBD. And this study propelled us to our current state, investigating CBD for hypertension. As we move along and come closer to current time, our next study evidenced up to 475% more CBD into blood. The DEHYDRATECH delivered measurable quantities of CBD into blood in as little as 2 minutes, again demonstrating the rapidity of our technology. In 2021, we issued results from our 2 human hypertension studies. The first one delivered up to 2,100% more CBD into bloodstream and up to 1,700% more CBD into brain tissue. The second one, using our new formulation, delivered up to 2,700% more CBD into bloodstream. Moving along to kind of summer and fall this year, our human clinical study, Hyper-H211, evidenced the rapid and sustained drop in blood pressure with the DEHYDRATECH CBD, and subjects experienced excellent tolerability. Human clinical study, Hyper-H212, also evidenced up to a remarkable 23% decrease in blood pressure with patented DEHYDRATECH CBD relative to placebo. And those of you who may have high blood pressure, you can truly appreciate what we have achieved. And these positive results moved us towards an investigational new drug application filing with the Food and Drug Administration for our DEHYDRATECH processed CBD as a prospective registered pharmaceutical treatment for hypertension. On this slide, we conducted multiple studies. The first was actually a THC study, evidencing DEHYDRATECH delivers equivalent quantity of oral THC 3 times faster, 15 minutes versus 45. We announced an R&D program to compare the first and only FDA-approved prescription CBD, Epidiolex. This is actually a head-to-head study, if you will, to compare the effectiveness of the FDA-approved Epidiolex to DEHYDRATECH CBD for reducing seizure activity. And finally, we announced an ambitious new hypertension study. This will be the most comprehensive study ever undertaken by Lexaria. It is expected to consist of 60 volunteers between the ages of 45 and 70, using 3 150 milligram doses of DEHYDRATECH CBD every day for the 6-week duration of the study. Study protocols are currently being readied for submission to the Independent Review Board, and approval is anticipated by January 2022. And final results should be available Q2, Q3 later on that year. This body of work really led us to what I touched upon earlier in this presentation, our IND FDA plans. As a background, the U.S. National Center for Health Statistics estimated that 108 million adults have hypertension, and 3 out of 4 in the U.S. adults with hypertension do not have it under control. This market has a lot of unmet need. Think about it. 3 out of 4, or in some literature, 4 out of 5, regardless, people just don't seem to take it serious. Or on the other hand, for most people, the medications may not be accessible, whether that is because they're too expensive or adults do not want the side effects that the current medications offer. That is why these unmet needs highlights demand for new approaches to lower blood pressure. So we announced Lexaria will be pursuing a pre-IND meeting with the FDA in early 2022 with a view to IND filing by late 2022 via the expedited 505(b)(2) NDA pathway for rapid market product launch. I'll switch gears to work on our antivirals. This is a hot topic given COVID-19. 2 studies on this page. The first demonstrating improved delivery of select COVID-19 treatments with drug classes also used against HIV and AIDS. In a primate study, the main purpose of this study was to confirm that Lexaria's DEHYDRATECH formulation and processing methodology did not negate the known antiviral efficacy of these compounds, which it did not. This study was performed using a primate cell line, Vero E6, and conducted by a leading independent U.S. biosafety level 3 testing laboratory that delivers critical services to government and commercial customers. This was an important step towards advancing the animal and ultimately human efficacy testing for the purpose of using DEHYDRATECH processed drugs to potentially treat COVID-19. Lexaria completed a successful antiviral drug molecular characterization study with Canada's premier federally funded research organization, the National Research Council. The The NRC has successfully confirmed Lexaria's study objectives, demonstrating DEHYDRATECH processing and formulation technology does not create a covalently bonded new molecular entity, or an NME. In that, each drug tested remained stable and did not undergo change in chemical structure. These findings are strongly supportive of accelerated regulatory findings, such as the 505(b)(2) pathway, which I just mentioned, permitted by the FDA and other international regulators. And finally, study viral A23, demonstrating significant enhancement in antiviral drug delivery with possible benefits for treating SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, and mRNA vaccine side effects. And finally, our breakthroughs with oral nicotine. As you can see in the slide, 2 studies in 2018 with truly impressive results. The first one here, 148% improvement in peak nicotine delivery. 1100%, I should say rather, faster delivery of nicotine to the bloodstream. 560% higher blood levels of nicotine. And the second study was even more remarkable. 90% more nicotine, 70% more nicotine delivered within the first 15 minutes. And the stats go on and on, up to 295% higher brain levels of nicotine. Truly, truly impressive results here. And our last slide here to wrap up our oral nicotine, we did a 2021 study demonstrating DEHYDRATECH oral nicotine delivery peaked in bloodstream 10 to 20 times faster than controls. And peak levels were achieved up to 10 times higher than controls. And our partners within the nicotine industry, Altria has funded R&D and is licensed to use our DEHYDRATECH in U.S. markets and has agreed to pay us a royalty on any oral nicotine product sales. And our research collaboration with British American Tobacco. And also discussions are underway with other Fortune 100 companies for DEHYDRATECH for oral nicotine use. Our commercial opportunities are endless. We've demonstrated our ability to enter formal agreements with Fortune 100 companies. We are actively developing lead product pipeline candidates. And we also engage strategic partners with third-party companies interested in exploring formulation opportunities with their specific APIs of interest, licensing our technology in exchange for upfront fees, milestone payments, and/or royalty payments. Lastly, Lexaria's key executives, directors, and advisors, Chris Bunka, our chairman and CEO, John Doherty, our president, as well as our strategic advisors who all make this happen. Finally, our corporate and financial information. We have 5.7 million shares outstanding, approximately 8.3 fully diluted. At the time of this presentation, share price was $6.19. Inside ownership is about 10%. That does not include derivative holdings. Our average volume, 90-day average volume is about 850,000 shares a day. Market cap about 35 million. And just the last note, we currently we did release our financial statements a short time ago. We're sitting at about $11 million cash US in the bank. With that said, thank you for tuning in. I'll now answer some of the questions that you do have.
We do have some questions from the chat, George. First off, thank you very much. This first one here is from James, and just to be clear, what kind of FDA approvals do you have or are you in the process of getting, just to summarize all the information?
Sure. Just to kind of recap that question is currently right now we're in a pre-IND meeting, so we do not have anything filed with the FDA at this time. Our plans right now to have that meeting. You can call it later on this year, later on next year in 2022. We are working currently with our consultants on this topic, and we'll provide more guidance to the market most likely in January when you have those timelines a little more firmed up.
Can you explain the importance of the IND? Well, first off, explain what IND means. Explain what is such a big deal about that.
Sure. That's an investigational new drug filing. So really taking a new product to market. Our body of evidence and our studies that I did talk about in this presentation have highlighted some of those tremendous results. And it's really gathering those results to kind of state your case, if you will, to the FDA, to really show that you have a valid technology, a valid product. It does not do any harm. It works. It says what's on the tin, as they say. in really furthering those conversations and going through those clinical trials and subsequent valuation metrics to reach that final milestone of bringing a product to market.
Awesome. George Jurcic is the head of IR at Lexaria Bioscience. George, thank you so much for the time today. Thanks for the clarity, and good luck.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, and thank you, everyone.
All right. I'm going to bring our next guest here on in a couple of minutes. Before I do that, I just want to do as I say and follow through on my promise that I will be bringing up the Slido poll back throughout the day. So let's bring it up again right now. As I said off the top, this is a opportunity for someone to win a free 1-year subscription to Benzinga Pro. Just scan the QR code on the screen and just participate. I will be changing the slides throughout the day. As I change them, they'll change on your screen. Just answer right or wrong. Some of them don't even have this one doesn't even have a right or wrong answer. And we're going to compile all the information, all the people that submitted questions or submitted answers. And at the end of the day at 4:00, we will pick a winner. So there is that. I see the chat super active today. Shout out to the chat. You guys, the trade ideas are flying in there. Keep the trade ideas coming, right? We don't necessarily, I don't personally care if the chat is talking about other things, right? We've got the conference, it's going all day, but here at Benzinga, we know the market never stops, right? Trading never stops. So except for days when the markets are closed, and on those days it does stop. But market's going today, things are hot. So drop your trades in the chat, whatever you're seeing out there, whatever you're seeing as far as movers, as far as news. Let everyone know. I want to give another shout out. I gave a few shout outs before to our news desk, to the chat. I want to give a shout out to the Benzinga Pro developers. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw yesterday there was a number of Amazon Web Services outages throughout the internet yesterday. Not on Benzinga Pro. Benzinga Pro did not have a single outage yesterday. I saw CNBC had some problems. I saw Disney had some problems. A lot of places had problems. Benzinga Pro did not. So huge shout out to the developers. Sometimes they get the brunt of the anger, right? Because people only notice them when things go wrong, but when things go right, they deserve to be noticed. So shout out to all of our hardworking developers.